Ava Bennett's hands shook as she tilted the Similac Alimentum canister. Empty. Not a single scoop left. 11:47 p.m., New Year's Eve. Fourth floor walk-up on 76th in Cottage Grove, South Chicago. The radiator clanged like it was working, but the apartment stayed cold enough to see her breath. From the bedroom, Eli screamed. 9 months old, hungry, the kind of cry that meant now. Ava grabbed her phone, bank app, $12.83. Payday Friday, 4 days away. The formula? Hypoallergenic, doctor prescribed for Eli's milk protein allergy, cost $44.99 at the Walgreens on 79th. She scrolled her contacts. No family. Her ex blocked her 6 months back. Best friend Shanice was in Atlanta for the holidays. One name left, Marcus, the intake guy from Grace Street Shelter who'd helped her land the Silver Line Transit job 2 years ago. Swallowing felt like swallowing glass, but Eli was screaming. She typed fast, Marcus, I hate asking, but I'm desperate. Can you lend me $50 for formula? Eli's specialized kind. I get paid Friday. My baby is hungry. Hit send without checking. Didn't see autocorrect change. Marcus Shelter to Martin Board from some old Silverline email list. 12 miles north, Alexander Hale stood in his 47th floor penthouse overlooking a frozen lake, Michigan, floor-to-ceiling windows. Macallan 18, he wouldn't drink. Silence so heavy it had weight. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost deleted it. Then he saw 3 words. My baby is hungry. The room tilted. Alexander was 8 years old again. South Side, 1987. His mother's hands, ice cold, wrapping him in a yellow hospital blanket. Baby, I need you to be strong. She'd skipped meals for 3 days to afford his asthma medication. 6 hours later, malnutrition-induced heart attack. The ambulance took 22 minutes because they lived in the low-priority zone. He read the message again. A woman named Ava. A baby. $50. He grabbed his keys. 12:17 a.m. Someone pounded on Ava's door. She froze, holding Eli. Rent wasn't due. Nobody visited at midnight in Roseland. Ava Bennett? Deep voice. Not Chicago. Something flattened, educated. She cracked the door, chain still on. A man in a black Burberry coat, snow on his shoulders. Late 30s, sharp jaw, eyes that looked haunted. 3 Walgreens bags in his hands. Who the hell are you? Alexander Hale. You texted me. And he lifted the bags. I brought formula and other things. Can I come in? Ava's brain scrambled. This wasn't Marcus. Wrong number. But he had formula. 3 canisters of Similac Alimentum, plus Gerber baby food, Pampers, infant Tylenol. I don't know you. You texted me. And I'm here. He looked past her at Eli, still crying. Your baby is hungry. Can we fix that first? Figure out the rest after? Something in his voice. Not pity. Urgency. She unhooked the chain. He stepped into her kitchen. Chipped linoleum, 1 working burner, a space heater running full blast. Didn't comment. Just unpacked the bags like he'd done this before. You got a bottle? I'll warm it. I know, but I'm already here. He found the bottle, ran tap water, hands steady, precise. My mother used to say hungry babies don't care about pride. They just need someone to show up. Ava watched him prepare the formula with the exactness of someone who'd fought his own war with poverty. Outside, the red line screeched past, metal on metal. When Eli finally drank, the apartment went quiet except for the L train and the space heater's electric hum. Alexander sat on her Salvation Army couch. Tell me why you needed to text a stranger for $50 on New Year's Eve. Oh, Ava looked at this man. His $4,000 coat in her $875 a month apartment. His careful hands, his eyes that understood something about hunger that money shouldn't remember. I worked at Silver Line Transit, paid decent. Then I found something wrong in the books and got fired for asking questions. Alexander's face changed. Silver Line Transit? Yeah, 3 weeks ago. Why? Because I fund their employee assistance program. Through the Hale Foundation. His jaw tightened. Who fired you? The CFO, Jonathan Pierce. The name landed like a fist. Alexander stood abruptly, started pacing her 12 by 12 living room. Jonathan Pierce fired you personally? Yeah. Came down from his executive floor to make sure I understood I should shut the hell up. While this story is inspired by real themes of unexpected kindness and financial corruption, all characters, specific events, and dialogue are fictionalized for dramatic purposes. Alexander stopped pacing, looked at her hard. What exactly did you find? 3 weeks earlier, Silver Line Transit Headquarters, 22nd floor, Wacker Drive. Ava's cubicle faced south toward the loop, close enough to see people on Michigan Avenue, but too far to hear them. The fluorescent lights hummed the same frequency as her desktop computer. She was reviewing Q3 financials when the numbers stopped making sense. The Hale Foundation Emergency Family Fund, grants for Silver Line employees facing hardship, showed total disbursements of $847,000 for the quarter. But when Ava cross-checked against actual employee applications in the system, the approved grants only totaled $312,000. She ran it twice. Same result. $535,000 went somewhere. Ava flagged it, typed an email to her supervisor, copied HR, discrepancy in HFEFF disbursements, see attached spreadsheet. Should I forward to Foundation for review? Sent it at 2:17 p.m. Response came at 2:58 p.m. Not from her supervisor, from Jonathan Pierce himself. Subject line, see me now. Executive floor, walnut everything. Pierce's office had windows that cost more than Ava's annual salary. View stretching from Navy Pier to the Willis Tower. Jonathan Pierce sat behind a desk the size of her kitchen table. 52, silver hair, Brioni suit, Yale class ring, positioned so you couldn't miss it. He didn't offer her a chair. Ms. Bennett, voice like expensive scotch. You've been with us how long? 2 years, Mr. Pierce. And in that time, have you worked in accounting, finance, grant management? No, sir. But then perhaps you should focus on bus schedules and leave financial oversight to those with actual credentials. He slid a manila folder across the desk. This is your termination notice, effective immediately. Ava's stomach dropped. Termination? For asking a question? For insubordination. For violating confidentiality protocols by accessing Foundation files without authorization. For creating a hostile work environment by making baseless accusations against senior leadership. He stood, buttoning his jacket. Silverline is a family, Ms. Bennett. Families require trust. You've demonstrated you can't be trusted. He nodded toward the door. An HR rep and security guard waited in the hallway. Please collect your personal items. You have 15 minutes. Ava's hands shook as she packed her desk. Photos of Eli, the coffee mug Shanice bought her, her space heater, the one that kept her cubicle warm when building maintenance claimed the heating system, worked fine. Pierce appeared one more time while she was taping the box shut. A word of advice. He leaned against her cubicle wall, voice low enough the guard couldn't hear. Chicago's a small business community. Certain questions create certain reputations. You seem like a smart girl, smart enough to know when to move on quietly. Ava looked at him. I need references. I have a baby to feed. Then you'll write on applications that you left to pursue other opportunities. Not that you were terminated for cause. His Yale ring caught the fluorescent light. Do we understand each other? She understood perfectly. He wasn't just firing her. He was threatening to blacklist her. Yeah, we understand each other. Back in the present, in Ava's cold apartment, Alexander's face had gone stone white. You found a $500,000 discrepancy and Pierce fired you the same day? Same hour. Ava shifted Eli to her other hip. I figured maybe I screwed up the math. Maybe I overstepped. I needed that job. I couldn't afford to make waves. You didn't screw up the math. And Alexander's voice was quiet, lethal. Jonathan Pierce is my business partner. We founded Hale Ventures together 23 years ago. The foundation, that's named after my mother, Eleanor Hale. She died when I was 8 because we couldn't afford health care. The radiator clanged. Outside, fireworks started going off early. Someone's illegal stash from Indiana. If you found a discrepancy, Alexander said, that means Jonathan's been stealing from my mother's legacy. From families like yours. From people who are exactly where I was when she died. Ava watched him process it. Watched the betrayal land. What do you need from me? He asked. I don't need anything. You already brought formula. What do you need to prove what you found? Ava's heart kicked. Access to the full Foundation financial records, 2 years minimum, and someone who can authorize it without Pierce knowing. Alexander pulled out his phone, started typing. You'll have access by morning, plus a company laptop, secure email, and a salary, $85,000 base. You work from home, set your own hours, report directly to me, no one else. You're offering me a job at midnight based on one wrong number text? I'm offering you a chance to finish what you started. He met her eyes. If Jonathan went out of his way to fire you, you found something he desperately needs buried. And if he's stealing from the Foundation... His voice cracked. That's my mother's name. Her memory. I will not let him turn her death into his personal bank account. Ava looked at Eli, finally asleep in her arms, wrapped in his yellow hospital blanket. Have you ever been fired for being right? Drop your story in the comments, because what Ava doesn't know yet is that saying yes to this job just made her a target. When do I start? Now. Next morning, Ava's kitchen table became a war room. Alexander's courier delivered the laptop at 7 a.m. MacBook Pro still in the box. A welcome email with secure login credentials. Full access to Hale Foundation financial systems. Eli played in his bouncer while Ava opened the first file. 2 hours in, she found it. Oakley Street Holdings, LLC, received $127,000 in consulting fees from the foundation in Q3. No contract, no deliverables, no business address except a P.O. box in Gary, Indiana. She Googled the name. Oakley Street didn't exist as a registered business, but it existed as a place, a street on Chicago's South Side. Ava pulled up Google Maps. Oakley Street ran through Pilsen, south into Inglewood. Working class, high poverty rate. The kind of neighborhood people with money drove around, not through. She kept digging. Division Avenue, Trust, $89,000. Q2, also a South Side street. Kedzie Capital Partners, $143,000. Q1. Kedzie Avenue, major north-south artery through the west side. Pullman Development Corp., $176,000. Q4 last year. Pullman, historic neighborhood, site of the old railroad car factory, closed since the 80s. 4 shell companies, 4 South Side streets, total $535,000. Ava's chest tightened. This wasn't random. Someone was using Chicago geography as a filing system, or worse, as a private joke. She called Alexander. He answered on the first ring. What'd you find? 4 shell companies, all named after South Side streets. All received foundation money with 0 documentation. She paused. Where'd you grow up? Silence. Oakley and Division. We moved to Pullman when I was 6. Kedzie Avenue. That's where the free clinic was. Where my mom went when she couldn't afford the ER. Someone's using your childhood against you. Jonathan. Alexander's voice went flat. He's the only person who knows those streets. I told him once, freshman year at Northwestern. Told him everything, where we lived, how we lived, why my mom died. He came to her funeral. He's been stealing from the foundation for years and naming the shell companies after your trauma. That's not stupidity, that's mockery. Alexander exhaled slow. He's daring me to see it. Betting, I never look at the finances because it's too painful. And he's right. I haven't touched the foundation book since we started it. I trusted him completely. That afternoon, Ava's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But unknown numbers meant daycares, landlords, utility companies, things single mothers couldn't ignore. Ms. Bennett. Jonathan Pierce. Her blood went ice cold. I understand you're employed again. Congratulations. His voice was silk over razor wire. Working for an old friend of mine. Alexander has a generous heart. Too generous, sometimes. He sees potential in people who don't deserve it. What do you want? To offer advice. Alexander lost his mother young. It made him vulnerable, desperate for connection. He's been known to make impulsive decisions when emotionally compromised, hiring single mothers with sob stories, for instance. Ava's grip tightened on the phone. Eli babbled from his high chair, oblivious. The point, Ms. Bennett, is that Alexander trusts people he shouldn't, and when those people inevitably disappoint him, when they fail, or worse, when they try to damage his reputation with wild accusations, he cuts them off completely. No reference, no severance, no second chances. Pause. He already lost one mother. Imagine how he'd react if someone put his new charity case in danger by poking into matters she doesn't understand. The line went dead. Ava sat frozen, phone still pressed to her ear. The space heater clicked off. The refrigerator hummed. Eli threw his plastic spoon on the floor. In this world where power protects power and the vulnerable stay silent, and while these events are inspired by the mechanics of real institutional corruption, every character in confrontation here exists only in the imagination. She pulled the laptop closer, opened a new spreadsheet, titled it Evidence. Pierce thought he could scare her off, thought she'd fold like she did at Silverline, but Ava wasn't getting fired this time. She was getting even. If someone threatened you for asking questions, would you back down or dig deeper? Comment back down or dig deeper. Because Ava's next move determines whether justice happens or evil wins. She started building the case. Every shell company, every wire transfer, every dollar Jonathan Pierce stole from families like hers. Let him call again. Next time she'd be recording. Week 2, Ava had the pattern. Pierce created 7 shell companies between 2020 and 2024, all registered to P.O. boxes in Indiana. Total siphoned $2.3 million. The invoices were vague. Strategic consulting, community outreach, and administrative support, approved by Pierce himself, paid within 48 hours. But the real crime wasn't the theft, it was the silencing. Ava started cold calling the denied applicants, families who'd applied for foundation grants, got approved, then mysteriously rejected or shortchanged. First call, Rosa Martinez, bus driver, Route 49, Western Avenue, applied for a $5,000 grant 6 months ago. Her husband had stage 4 colon cancer. They approved me, Rosa said, voice raw. Then Mr. Pierce himself called, said the foundation was restructuring, told me to reapply in 6 months. My husband died 4 weeks ago. We used GoFundMe for the funeral. Ava's throat closed. I'm sorry. You calling to tell me I can reapply now because I don't need it anymore. I needed it when Miguel was alive. I'm calling because I think Mr. Pierce stole your money, and I'm trying to prove it. Silence. Then, you got proof, you call me back, I'll testify. Second call, Darnell Washington, former maintenance supervisor, applied for emergency housing after an apartment fire, approved for $8,000, received $800. I called to ask about the difference, got transferred 6 times. Then Pierce's assistant said there was a processing error. Original amount was a typo, $800. Darnell's laugh was bitter. My 3 kids slept in a shelter for 3 months. But sure, processing error. Third call, Kim Patel, dispatcher. Needed medical bill. Assistance after a car accident. Approved for $12,000. Never received a cent. When she followed up, her employee file got flagged for potential fraud, and she was placed on unpaid leave. Ava documented everything. Then she called Alexander. I found 3 people Pierce directly victimized. Can we help them? Send me their information. Within 24 hours, Rosa Martinez received a $10,000 check from Hale Ventures Emergency Relief. Darnell Washington's got a direct deposit for $7,200 plus $5,000 for his kids. Kim Patel's file was cleared and she got offered a new position at Hale Ventures' $15,000 signing bonus. Ava didn't tell them it was her idea, but she kept their thank you voicemails, played them when Pierce's threats got loud in her head. Alexander wanted to meet in person, review findings, not his penthouse. 11 City Diner, South Loop, neutral ground. Ava showed up with Eli in a carrier, her laptop, 300 pages of printed evidence, slid into the booth across from him, ordered coffee and corned beef hash without touching the menu. Walk me through it. She did. Showed him the shell companies, the victim testimonies, the money trail that disappeared into offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. Alexander's jaw locked when she pulled up the street names. Oakley Street Holdings, Division Avenue Trust, Keedsey Capital Partners. His voice dropped. He named them after where I grew up, where my mother couldn't afford to live anymore, where she died. It's not random, he's reminding you. Every time he steals, he's betting you'll never look. For 23 years, he's been the only person who knew where I came from, who I was before the money. Alexander's knuckles went white around his coffee mug, and he weaponized it. Ava slid the evidence folder across the table. So let's bury him. Alexander nodded, but his eyes stayed on the street names. Oakley, Division, Kedzie, Pullman, a map of his childhood poverty, converted into a money laundering empire. My mother's name is on that foundation. Eleanor Hale. She died because we were poor. And he turned her memory into a joke. Then we make him pay. They left through the front door. Alexander held it open for Ava while she maneuvered Eli's carrier through. Across the street, a black Audi idled at a meter. Driver inside, windows tinted, engine running. Alexander noticed. His hand found Ava's elbow, steering her left instead of right. That's Jonathan's car. You sure? Custom plates, JP-2001, year we founded the company. Alexander's voice stayed level, but his grip tightened. He's having us followed. The Audi pulled away from the curb, slow, deliberate, letting them know he saw them. Real question. If you uncovered corruption, would you go public immediately or build an airtight case first? Comment expose or build case because Ava's strategy here determines whether justice happens or the villain walks free. Ava watched the Audi disappear south on Wabash, felt Eli's weight against her chest, felt the evidence folder in her messenger bag. How long to build a case that sticks? She asked. 3 months minimum. Then we've got work to do. But as they walked toward Alexander's car, Ava couldn't shake the feeling. Pierce wasn't just watching. He was hunting. Alexander's penthouse. 2 weeks later. He'd turned the living room into a war room. Whiteboards covering the windows, financial documents taped to walls, a lawyer on speakerphone. Ava sat on his minimalist couch, Eli asleep in a portable crib Alexander had ordered. The view behind the whiteboards showed Lake Michigan stretching to infinity, but they weren't looking at views. Patricia Cho, former federal prosecutor, laid out the reality through the speaker. Criminal embezzlement requires ironclad evidence. Bank records, wire transfers, proof of intent. You go public without it, Pierce sues for defamation and buries you both in litigation. How long to build the case? Ava asked. 3 months minimum. 6 to be safe? Alexander shook his head. Foundation's annual gala is in 8 weeks. 200 donors, press, city officials. If we don't expose him before that, he uses the gala to reinforce his legitimacy. 6 more months of stealing. Then we need a confession, Patricia said. Recorded admission of guilt. They designed the trap. Alexander would confront Pierce privately in the foundation boardroom, wearing a wire. Play the old friend card. Jonathan, I'm thinking of expanding the foundation. Walk me through the current financials. Goal: get Pierce to admit the shell companies exist and that he controls them. Ava's role: feed Alexander specific questions through an earpiece, like a trial lawyer coaching a witness. It's risky, Patricia said. He suspects anything, he lawyers up immediately. He won't suspect. Alexander's voice was cold. He thinks I'm incapable of seeing him clearly. That's his weakness. He believes his own performance. During a break, Alexander noticed Eli's yellow blanket draped over Ava's messenger bag. Hospital issue? Yeah, St. Anthony's, February last year. It's the only thing his father didn't take when he left. Ava touched the fabric. I keep it close. Reminds me what I'm fighting for. Alexander went quiet, walked to his bedroom, came back carrying a small wooden box, the kind that holds important documents or jewelry. Inside, a faded yellow blanket, identical to Eli's. Hospital corners still visible where it had been folded decades ago. St. Bernard Hospital, 1987. My mother wrapped me in this the night she died. His voice cracked. Made the nurse promise I'd keep it. I was 8, didn't understand why she was so cold, why she kept apologizing. Ava's chest tightened. She starved herself so I could eat, skipped her blood pressure meds so I could have asthma treatment. The cardiologist said if she'd come in even one day earlier, they could have saved her. But she waited, because ambulances cost money, because hospitals required deposits. Alexander looked at Ava. Your text, my baby is hungry. Those were her last words to me. Ava understood now. This wasn't about money. It wasn't even about Pierce. It was about every mother who chose her child over herself. Every family the system failed, every person told they didn't matter because they were poor. We're going to make sure every dollar goes where it's supposed to, she said. For your mom, for Eli, for everyone Pierce stole from. Then let's finish this. That night, Ava's building lost heat, completely. Landlord claimed system malfunction. But the repair guy told her someone shut off the main valve deliberately. Her Honda Civic got towed from a legal spot. Towing company had no record of who ordered it. $380 to get it back. 15 spam calls in 2 hours. All robo-dialers, but the timing wasn't coincidence. Then the envelope under her door. Inside, a printed photo of Eli at daycare. Red Sharpie circled his face. No words, just the image. Ava's hands shook so hard she dropped it. She called Alexander. Pack a bag. You and Eli are staying here until this is over. I'm not running. You're not running. You're regrouping. There's a difference. His voice turned to steel. Pierce is desperate. Desperate men do dangerous things. I will not let him hurt you or your son. Do you understand me? Ava looked at Eli, sleeping in his crib, yellow blanket tucked around him. The same blanket that wrapped Alexander 37 years ago. The same symbol of mothers who fought alone. Yeah, I understand. She started packing, but her phone rang again. Unknown number. Pierce's voice. Enjoy your new accommodations, Ms. Bennett. But remember, Alexander's penthouse has 47 floors. That's a long way to fall. The line went dead. Ava stood in her cold apartment, holding Eli's blanket, and made a decision. She wasn't falling. She was flying straight at him. Week 6. Ava had been living at Alexander's penthouse for 2 weeks. Heated floors, a kitchen bigger than her entire apartment, floor-to-ceiling windows showing a Chicago she'd never accessed, but she wasn't softening. 18-hour days, building the evidence file. Patricia Cho confirmed they had enough for criminal charges, but needed the recorded confession to make it airtight. The boardroom confrontation, scheduled for tomorrow, 2 p.m., Alexander would wear the wire. Ava would feed him questions from a secure location. Everything was ready. 7:42 a.m., Ava's phone rang. Eli's daycare. Ms. Bennett, there's been an incident. A man claiming to be Eli's grandfather attempted to pick him up. We denied him per your instructions, but he became aggressive. Police are here. Ava's vision tunneled. What did he look like? Older, silver hair, expensive suit, navy blue. He had paperwork, custody documents with your signature. I never signed anything. Keep Eli there. I'm coming now. Alexander's driver got her to the daycare in 12 minutes. 2 squad cars outside. Inside, the director met her with a manila folder. He left these, said he'd be back with a court order. Ava opened it. Emergency petition for custody modification. Filed in Cook County Court. Petitioner, Marcus Anthony Bennett, Eli's biological father, claiming Ava's recent unstable living situation and increasingly erratic behavior made her unfit. The petition cited her silver line firing, her sudden cohabitation with a wealthy older man, and concerns about mental fitness raised by former employer Jonathan Pierce. All lies. But documented lies. The hearing, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., same time as the boardroom confrontation. Ava returned to the penthouse, Eli clutching her neck. Found Alexander on the phone with his lawyers. He filed for emergency custody, Alexander said, face grim, claiming to act on behalf of Eli's biological father. Hearings tomorrow morning, same time as our Pierce confrontation. He can't. Marcus signed away his rights. Pierce is alleging you coerced him. Got a lawyer claiming Marcus wants to reclaim his parental role, on which Alexander's voice was tight with rage. It's theater, but it'll take weeks to disprove, and meanwhile I choose between nailing Pierce and keeping my son. Exactly. Ava sat on the couch, Eli in her lap, and felt the walls closing in. If she didn't show up to the custody hearing, the judge could rule against her by default. If she didn't feed Alexander questions during the Pierce confrontation, they might not get the confession. Pierce had engineered a Sophie's choice. That night, Pierce called. Ms. Bennett, I assume you've received the court documents. You son of a... Careful. My attorney's on speaker. Pause. Here's what happens tomorrow. You appear at the custody hearing and withdraw all allegations against me and Silverline. Sign a comprehensive NDA. In exchange, the custody case disappears. Your son stays with you. And if I refuse? Then the hearing proceeds. I have 3 expert witnesses. A former employer describing your paranoid accusations. A psychologist citing your delusional conspiracy theories. A financial expert noting your inappropriate relationship with a wealthy benefactor. His voice turned to ice. You'll lose your son, Ms. Bennett. And you'll deserve it, because you chose revenge over his well-being. The line went dead. Ava sat in the dark, Eli asleep against her chest, yellow blanket wrapped around them both. The city lights stretched below, indifferent to her collapsing world. Alexander found her at 2 a.m. I can't do it, she whispered. I can't risk losing him, not even for this. Then we postpone. Find another way. There is no other way. If we don't get the confession tomorrow, Pierce moves the money, destroys evidence, builds his defense. We lose everything. Then we lose. Eli needs his mother more than the world needs justice. But Ava knew that wasn't true. Somewhere in Chicago, another mother was losing a custody battle she shouldn't lose. Another family denied assistance. Another child going hungry because Pierce stole their money. She thought of Alexander Hale, wrapped in a yellow blanket, whispering apologies she shouldn't have to make. What would your mother do? Ava asked. Alexander's voice broke. She'd tell you to protect your baby. Every single time. 3:17 a.m. Ava's phone vibrated. Text from unknown number. Rosa Martinez here. Heard you're in trouble. Whatever you need, we're here. You saved my family. Let us save yours. Then another text. Darnell Washington. Got your back. Tell us what you need. Kim Patel. Pierce took everything from us. Not letting him take you too. Real talk. If you had to choose between saving your child or exposing corruption, hurting thousands, what would you do? Comment your choice. Because there's no right answer, only human ones. Ava stared at her phone, at the messages multiplying. 12 people, 20, 35, an army rising in the dark. Maybe she didn't have to choose alone. Ava stared at Rose's text, opened her call log, 47 victims. Families Pierce denied, employees he silenced, people who lost everything while he bought vacation homes. She started a group text at 3:34 a.m. This is Ava Bennett. You don't know me, but I've been investigating the Hale Foundation. Tomorrow, there's a custody hearing designed to silence me. If any of you are willing to speak up, I need you at Cook County Courthouse, room 408, 9 a.m. No pressure. I understand if you can't risk it. Hit send. Didn't expect much. Within 20 minutes, 32 responses. I'll be there. Count me in. He took everything from us. Time to return the favor. Rosa called directly. What do you need? Witnesses. People willing to testify. Pierce has a pattern of threatening anyone who questions the foundation. Done. I'll bring 10 bus drivers. Darnell's bringing maintenance crew. Kim's contacting every dispatcher Pierce put on leave. Rosa's voice was steel. You fought for us when we had nothing. Now we fight for you. Cook County Courthouse, 8:47 a.m. Ava arrived with Eli in his carrier, expecting a small hearing room and Pierce's lawyers. Instead, 73 people packed the hallway outside room 408. Silverline employees in their blue uniforms, parents holding children, a maintenance worker still wearing his tool belt, signs handwritten on poster board, Hale Foundation, help families or help yourself, and Pierce equals thief. Pierce's legal team, 4 lawyers in Tom Ford suits, looked rattled. Judge Patricia Williams entered, stopped short. What is this? Rosa stood. Your Honor, we're here to provide character testimony for Ms. Bennett. We represent families Mr. Pierce systematically defrauded through the Hale Foundation. while filing malicious custody claims against the woman who exposed his crimes. Pierce's lead attorney objected. Your Honor, this is a custody matter, not a fraud trial. Then why did Mr. Pierce file documents alleging Ms. Bennett's erratic conspiracy theories? Judge Williams cut him off. You made her mental state the issue. These witnesses speak to her credibility. For 3 hours, they testified. Rosa Martinez. My husband, Miguel, had stage 4 cancer. The foundation approved $5,000 for treatment. Mr. Pierce called personally, said they were restructuring, told me to reapply in 6 months. Miguel died 4 weeks later. We used GoFundMe for his funeral. Darnell Washington held up 2 documents. $8,000 approval, $800 check. When I asked why, I got transferred 6 times, then told it was a processing error. My 3 kids slept in a homeless shelter for 3 months. Kim Patel submitted her employee file. I questioned a foundation disbursement. Next day, Mr. Pierce flagged my file for fraud, placed me on unpaid leave, lost my apartment, lost my car, all for asking one question. In this world, where corruption hides behind credentials and courtrooms become battlegrounds for truth, and while these events are inspired by real patterns of institutional retaliation, every character and testimony here exists only in narrative imagination. Then Patricia Cho entered the courtroom, filed an emergency motion, bank records showing Pierce's shell companies, wire transfers to offshore accounts, 47 victim testimonies. Judge Williams reviewed the documents, looked at Pierce sitting in the gallery, Yale ring catching fluorescent light. Mr. Pierce, I'm ordering an immediate investigation into these allegations. This custody case is dismissed with prejudice. It's clearly retaliatory. Ms. Bennett retains full custody. Pierce's face went white. Furthermore, I'm forwarding this evidence to the Illinois Attorney General and the FBI. This court will not be weaponized against whistleblowers. Gavel down. Pierce stormed out. Ava watched him climb into his black Audi, phone pressed to his ear, panicking, making calls. Probably trying to move money before investigators froze accounts. Alexander appeared beside her. He's rattled, making mistakes. Patricia Cho joined them. We need him on record admitting the fraud. Bank records are strong, but a confession seals it. Ava had an idea. What if we don't wait for the boardroom? What if we make him come to us? How? He thinks I'm broken. That the custody scare worked. What if I call, offer to make a deal? My silence for Eli's safety. Ava's voice went cold. He'll gloat. He always does. And when people gloat, they confess. Alexander nodded slowly. You'd wear a wire. I'm already wearing one. Ava pulled back her coat, the recording device Patricia gave her that morning. I've been recording since the custody hearing started. Got his lawyers on tape claiming I'm delusional. Now let's get him admitting why. Ava called Pierce. He answered first ring. Ms. Bennett, ready to be reasonable? She took a breath. Yeah, let's meet. Just you and me. I'll sign whatever you want, but I need proof Eli's father isn't coming back. Oh, Pierce laughed. Finally showing some sense. Starbucks on Michigan Avenue, 1 hour. He didn't know Patricia Cho was already there, setting up surveillance. Have you ever seen everyday people beat a corrupt system? Comment your story, because this scene proves power isn't about money, it's about numbers. Ava looked at the 73 people who'd shown up. Rosa, Darnell, Kim, and dozens more. An army built from bus drivers and dispatchers and maintenance workers. Pierce had the lawyers, but she had the people. And the people were about to win. Starbucks, Michigan Avenue. 11:30 a.m. The wire pressed against Ava's ribs, hidden in Eli's diaper bag. Patricia Cho sat in the corner with a MacBook, pretending to work. Alexander waited in her Mercedes outside, headphones on, listening live. Pierce was already there. Corner table, cappuccino, that Yale ring positioned like a weapon. Ms. Bennett, please sit, gesturing like he was doing her a favor. Ava sat, angling the bag so the microphone faced him. Eli babbled in his carrier. I'll be direct, I can't fight you. The custody scare made that clear. I have a baby to protect. She kept her voice flat, defeated. So I'll sign your NDA, drop the investigation, disappear. But I need guarantees, real ones. Pierce smiled, the smile of a man who'd already won. Smart woman. What guarantees? Proof Eli's father isn't showing up in 6 months with another claim. Proof you won't come after me again. Pierce leaned back, supremely confident. The custody case was theater. Eli's biological father signed away, rights, and wants nothing to do with you. I simply borrowed his identity. Had my lawyers create convincing paperwork. Amazing what you can accomplish with the right connections and enough money. Ava's heart pounded. He was admitting fraud. So it was all fake? All of it. The grandfather, the emergency hearing, the mental fitness claims. Just pressure tactics. And he sipped his cappuccino. You have to understand, Ms. Bennett, I've been managing Alexander Hale for 23 years. The man's brilliant with numbers but emotionally stunted. His mother's death broke something in him. He needs someone to handle the complicated parts. The relationships, the trust, the money, the foundation, especially the foundation. He wanted to create a legacy for Eleanor, but couldn't bear to actually run it. Too painful, so I did. And yes, I reallocated some funds. Called it administrative efficiency. The shell companies, the offshore accounts, just smart business. Ava pushed harder. You stole from families who needed help. Rosa Martinez's husband died because you denied her cancer fund. Pierce's face hardened. Rosa Martinez received exactly what she qualified for under updated guidelines. If she couldn't manage finances properly, that's not the foundation's fault. You stole $2.3 million. I managed $2.3 million that would have been wasted on handouts. You know what happens when you give poor people money? They blow it. New TVS, lottery tickets, fast food. And he leaned forward. I redirected those funds to investments that actually generate returns. I built Alexander's fortune. That foundation money is working harder in my portfolio than it ever would in some bus driver's bank account. Ava felt sick, but she needed more. What about the street names? Oakley Street Holdings, Division Avenue Trust. Those were from Alexander's childhood. Pierce actually laughed. A private joke. Alexander's so obsessed with his poverty origin story, I grew up with nothing, that I thought it was poetic. The streets that made him are now the companies that pay me. He never even noticed. Ava reached into the diaper bag. You're wrong about one thing. What's that? He noticed. She pulled out her phone, showed the recording app. 42 minutes of audio. Pierce's face went from smug to panicked in 1 second. The door opened. FBI agents, led by an investigator Patricia had contacted. Behind them, Alexander. Jonathan Pierce, you're under arrest for embezzlement, wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to defraud a charitable organization. Pierce stood, knocking over his cappuccino, brown liquid spreading across the table. Alexander, this is a misunderstanding. Alexander stepped forward, his voice quiet, devastated. You used my mother's name, her memory, her suffering. You turned it into a punchline and a piggy bank. I built this company. You'd be nothing without me. Maybe, but I'd rather be nothing than be what you are. Alexander nodded to the agents. Get him out of here. As they cuffed Pierce, he screamed about lawyers, about loyalty, about 23 years of friendship. The entire Starbucks filmed on their phones. A barista posted it to TikTok before Pierce reached the door. The viral public downfall had begun. Real question, would you have had the guts to wiretap a powerful criminal in a public place? Comment yes or no, because Ava just risked everything for one recorded confession. As Pierce was dragged toward the exit, he locked eyes with Ava. You have no idea what you've done. I'm not the only one. There are others, bigger than me, and they don't lose. Then he was gone. But Ava's blood ran cold. What if he wasn't bluffing? The arrest video hit Twitter within an hour. Billionaire's CFO arrested for stealing from charity. Trended by noon. Chicago Tribune front page. Hale Foundation fraud, millions stolen from city's most vulnerable. But the real damage came from the victims. Rosa Martinez did WGN Morning News at 6 a.m. My husband Miguel died while Jonathan Pierce bought a third vacation home with money meant for his cancer treatment. That's not a business decision. That's murder. She held up Miguel's photo. This is who he stole from. Darnell Washington posted a TikTok, his $800 check beside his 3 kids sleeping on a shelter cot. 47 million views in 24 hours. Caption, this is what rich people call administrative efficiency. Kim Patel started a Twitter thread documenting every Silverline employee Pierce fired, silenced, or threatened. Became a national conversation about corporate retaliation. Hashtag Pierce the Veil trended for 3 days. The internet did what it does best, complete excavation. Within 72 hours, investigative journalists uncovered Pierce's real lifestyle. The $4, $8 million vacation home in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, purchased with foundation funds through Oakley Street Holdings, his son's Yale tuition, paid through a foundation scholarship that only ever had one recipient, private jet rentals to Aspen and Monaco, billed as charity site visits, and a shell company that bought 3 Mercedes then donated them to Pierce family members. Every revelation was another nail in the coffin. Pierce's bail hearing became a spectacle. 200 protesters outside Cook County Courthouse. Signs, jail the Yale thief and Eleanor deserved better. Inside, prosecutors presented Ava's evidence, bank records, wire transfers, victim testimonies, the Starbucks recording. Argued Pierce was a flight risk with offshore accounts and international connections. Bail denied. The perp walk. Pierce in handcuffs in County Orange. Lawyers surrounding him trying to block camera phones. But there was no blocking this. Every angle captured. The man who spent 23 years in Brioni suits and Yale rings, now in institutional orange, hands cuffed, face pale. Someone in the crowd shouted, "How's it feel to be nobody?" He didn't answer. Couldn't answer. The ultimate status reversal broadcast live on WGN, CBS, ABC. 2 weeks later, Alexander held a press conference at Hale Foundation headquarters. He stood at the podium, uncomfortable with the cameras. But Ava stood beside him, Eli in her arms, yellow blanket visible. "My mother, Eleanor Hale, died because we couldn't afford health care. I created this foundation to make sure no child loses a parent the way I did." His voice cracked. Jonathan Pierce betrayed that mission. Betrayed my mother's memory. Betrayed every family who trusted us. He paused, steadied himself. "Today, I'm announcing 3 actions. First, every family wrongly denied assistance will receive full retroactive payments, plus compensation, for hardship. Second, the foundation is implementing independent oversight. No single person will ever control the finances again. Third, I'm appointing Ava Bennett as executive director. She risked everything to expose this fraud. She represents the families we exist to serve." Reporters erupted with questions. Alexander held up his hand. "One more thing. We recovered $1.8 million of the stolen funds. That money is being distributed immediately to the families Jonathan Pierce victimized. Rosa Martinez, Darnell Washington, Kim Patel, and 44 others. No applications, no bureaucracy, just justice." Camera flashes exploded. 6 months later, federal courthouse. Pierce's trial lasted 3 weeks. Ava testified for 6 hours, walked the jury through every shell company, every forged document, every stolen dollar. Pierce's defense painted him as a complex financial manager who made accounting errors. And then the prosecution played the Starbucks recording, Pierce's own voice. "I redirected those funds to investments that actually generate returns. Poor people blow it. I built Alexander's fortune." Jury deliberated 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing: 15 years federal prison, $4.2 million restitution, permanent ban from corporate leadership. Pierce collapsed in the courtroom. His wife and children, already filed for divorce, already changed their names, sat stone-faced. Outside, Ava gave a statement. "This isn't about revenge. It's about restoration. Jonathan Pierce stole from families already struggling. Today, the system worked. Not because it's perfect, but because ordinary people refuse to stay silent." A reporter asked, "What's next?" Ava looked at Alexander holding Eli, yellow blanket over his shoulder. "We rebuild together. Real talk. Is 15 years enough for someone who stole from families in crisis? Comment too much, too little, or just right, because justice is subjective, but accountability is essential." As they left, an older woman approached. "Ms. Bennett, I'm Eleanor's sister, Alexander's aunt. We lost touch after she died, but I saw you on the news. Can we talk?" 1 year later, New Year's Eve, Ava's new apartment, still South Chicago, but a 3-bedroom on a safer block with working heat and windows that actually closed. Eli, almost 2 now, slept in his room, yellow blanket folded at the foot of his crib. She stirred spaghetti sauce when the doorbell rang. Alexander stood in the hallway holding flowers and sparkling cider. "You're early," and wanted to see where it started before everyone else got here. He stepped inside, looked around. "New place looks good. Foundation salary helps." She led him to the kitchen. "Rosa and Darnell are coming at 8. Kim's bringing her kids. Gonna be loud." "Good. Loud means alive." They worked together. Ava stirring sauce, Alexander setting the table. Domestic, comfortable. A year ago, they were strangers connected by a wrong number text. Now they were family, in the way that mattered. While the sauce simmered, they sat on her couch. "You ever think about that night?" Ava asked. "Every day." Alexander's voice was soft. "If you'd texted the right number, Marcus instead of me, Pierce would still be stealing. Families would still be suffering. And I'd still be alone in that penthouse, convinced money could replace purpose." "You think it was fate?" "I think it was desperation meeting desperation. You needed $50. I needed to believe on my mother's death meant something." He looked at her. "We saved each other, Ava. You know that, right?" She did, but hearing him say it still hit different. The apartment filled. Rosa brought tamales. Darnell brought his kids and Uno cards. Kim brought jollof rice. These were the people who'd shown up at the courthouse, who'd testified, who'd refused to stay silent. They ate, laughed, traded stories. Darnell's kids played with Eli, teaching him to stack blocks. Rosa showed photos of her new apartment. 2 bedrooms, paid for with the foundation's retroactive payment. Kim talked about her promotion at Hale Ventures, managing the new fraud prevention department. At 11:30, Alexander tapped his glass. "I'm not good at speeches, but I need to say something." He looked around the room. "A year ago, I thought the foundation was my mother's legacy. I was wrong. The foundation was just money. Her real legacy is this: people who show up when someone's baby is hungry, people who fight when it's easier to stay quiet, people who choose courage over comfort. And he raised his glass to Ava. You texted me for $50. You gave me something worth infinitely more. Thank you. At midnight, fireworks exploded over the lake. Ava stepped onto her small balcony, Eli in her arms wrapped in the yellow blanket. Alexander joined her. Foundation needs a symbol, something that represents what we're really about. He showed her a design on his phone, a yellow blanket folded into a heart shape, words underneath, for every parent fighting alone. We're framing the actual blankets, Eli's and my mother's, side by side, in the lobby. A reminder that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's what connects us. Ava's eyes blurred. She'd love that. Eleanor. I know. Alexander's voice cracked. I used to think her death was senseless, just another tragedy in a system that doesn't care. But maybe it planted something, a conviction, that no parent should have to choose between medicine and food, between heat and formula, between asking for help and losing their child. He looked at Chicago spread below, millions of lights, millions of stories. Money can't buy you a damn thing that matters, Ava said quietly. But showing up when somebody's baby is hungry, that'll buy you a family, that'll buy you a soul. And in a city this cold, that's the only fortune worth keeping. Alexander nodded, put his arm around her shoulders, not romantic, just there. They stood together watching fireworks, Eli babbling between them. One accidental text, $50. A billionaire who remembered being poor, and a mother who refused to stay silent. The start of everything that mattered. If this story moved you, you're part of the comeback crew. People who believe in justice, second chance, and showing up when it matters. Comment comeback crew and tell us, when did someone show up for you when you needed it most? Your story matters. Share it below. And hit subscribe, because every week we bring you stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. See you in the next one. The Hale Foundation has restored over $3 million to families wrongfully denied assistance. Eleanor's blanket and Eli's blanket now hang in the foundation lobby, a reminder that every parent fighting alone deserves someone to show up. If Ava and Alexander's story touched your heart, answer this. When did someone show up for you when you had nothing left? Maybe it was a stranger. Maybe it was a friend. Maybe it was someone you never expected. Comment below. Your story matters, and someone reading might need to hear it tonight. And if you believe in second chances, chosen families, and people who refuse to stay silent, hit subscribe. We tell these stories every week because hope isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Welcome to the family.